Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we're going to look at AWS config. It is a lab, so you will need to log into the AWS console. Okay, so I'm logged into the AWS console. I need to go to services and then under management tools, you'll see config. So I'm going to click in here. Now I've already provisioned my config dashboard. I did this in the last section of the course. If you haven't already done it, make sure you do so. Again, it's on a per region by region basis. So do just bear that in mind. Something I will show you though is if you do it on a per region basis. So let's just go over to Ireland. And I'm going to go in and try and configure. So I hit the get started. I want to include global resources, S3 bucket. If you leave it as create a bucket, it's going to try and create a bucket and the whole process will fail. We've already got a bucket set up, which is called this config bucket and then our account number. So I'm just going to say choose a bucket from my account, and then I'm going to go in and choose that exact bucket that it's already created. SNS topic, I would go in and create a topic if I was you. We'll just call it config topic. Down here, we have to create a role. This role basically gives config read-only access to all our resources within AWS, so it can record the information, and then it gives it permission to send this information to both S3 as well as to SNS. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I've already created a role. Let me just have a look. Yeah, so I've already got a role. I'm going to use the same one that I was using in US East 1. And that is it. So we go ahead and hit next, and this will go in and ask us for a whole bunch of rules. I'm just going to leave that as default and hit next, and I'm going to go in and hit confirm. And I would seriously recommend doing this in your production AWS accounts for all regions around the world. It is time consuming, I know, but it is seriously worth it. So in here we can see that still discovering my resources within Ireland. And we haven't got any rules in here. Let's go back over to my Northern Virginia region where I have had things set up. And in here, we can see that I've already got a whole bunch of resources. If you remember, I basically went in and configured a CloudFormation template to deploy a WordPress site, and that's what it is picking up in here. Now, I don't have any rules. I don't think I have any rules. Maybe I do have a rule. Yeah, I do. I have the certificate expiration check. So let's go in and add a new rule. And the main rule that I want is I want to know if SSH is open to the world. So let's go and click on that. In here, it just says the description checks whether or not security groups that are in use disallow unrestricted incoming SSH traffic. Now, in here, we've got our trigger type. Do we want it to be triggered with configuration changes, or do we want it to be periodic? If you click on periodic, I don't actually think it gives me the option for this one. But you can obviously click on periodic in here, and then you can specify 1 hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours. I'm just going to leave it as blank. The scope of changes is whether or not it's a resource change or a tag change or all changes. I'm going to go ahead and do all changes. Then I'm going to go ahead and click on save, and this will create the rule for us. As soon as a rule is created, it will evaluate it immediately, and then it will go in and essentially alert us if we have that set up. I don't think I set up SNS for this particular one, no. So extreme configuration changes to an Amazon SNS topic. I can go ahead and create my topic. I think I've already got that topic set up. So choose a topic from your account, and no, I don't. So I am going to go in and create a topic. We're going to call it config topic. Go ahead and hit save. I've got it set up in the other region. That's what it is. So if it's not good enough just to create a topic, you obviously have to go in and configure your email address as well. So we'll go back over to here, and we just need to go into SNS under Simple Notification Services under Messaging. And in here, it should have my new topic that it's just created for me. Here we go, config topic. I'm going to click in here. And in here, I'm going to create a subscription, and I'm going to enter in my email address. So I want it to email me every time that there is a config change. Obviously, when you enter in your email address, you then have to go in and confirm the subscription before Amazon will start emailing you. Otherwise, you could just enter anyone's email address in there and then go in and change your environment all the time just to annoy them. So they obviously will have to confirm. So I'm not going to show you guys my email because I get weird emails already. But I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to this, and then I'll go back over to the AWS config screen. This is a rare thing that I've never seen before. It just says an error has occurred with AWS config. Contact AWS support. Maybe I'll try a refresh. but I've never seen it do that before. There you go, it's disappeared. So here we've got resources, so we can still see all my resources. We can now see that something is not compliant, and I can actually click in here and hit restricted SSH, and it's showing me where these things aren't compliant. Now, the really cool thing is I can go in and just deliberately, by clicking that, I can go in and manage the resource. So I can go in and change that security group rule directly. Just click in here, and then I can go in and change this rule. Let's go in and start deleting it so that we can go back into compliance. So go in and hit save, and then we can go back to config. Just go down to config. And we can, it still says 2 non-compliant resources, so I could click in here, and what you can do is when you do make a change, you can click reevaluate rule, and then basically it will go through and reevaluate, and you'd have to refresh the page to see the latest evaluation results, so do that, and then hopefully we will be down to 1. It can take a little bit of time, so give it like 5 minutes or something. Okay, so I've paused the video, I'm just going to refresh, and hopefully we'll get okay, there we go. So we've got 1 compliant now and 1 non-compliant. Now the really cool thing is here you can see the config timeline. So if we click in here, we'll actually be able to see a timeline of our configuration changes. And I only provisioned this environment yesterday, but if you click here, you can actually go back to any point in time, which is really, really cool. I can actually go back to before this AWS account was even created. I really like the UI where it's quite easy to see that there has been a change. And if I click on the change, I can actually see the change in this array. Now note that these are the configuration changes. I can actually click in here and I can go in and even have a look at the CloudTrail events. You can click in here to see it inside CloudTrail, and you can even identify the user. So you can use AWS Config Manager in conjunction with CloudTrail to figure out who's making changes to what. So that's why it's really important to have CloudTrail on across all your regions, as well as AWS Config Manager. It really does help you in terms of auditing and compliance, as you can see. So let's scroll back up and we'll go back over to AWS Config. I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to go in and make this compliant one non-compliant again, because what I want to do is see my notifications. So I'm going to go into my inbound rules, going to go ahead and edit. I'm going to add a rule. I'm going to add SSH, and I'm going to open it up to the whole world because I'm a naughty person. So put it in here and go ahead and hit save. So that has now saved it. You can then go back over to AWS Config, and we'll go in and we will create or rerun the rules. So we can go down here and go reevaluate. That's going to take another 5 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video, but hopefully we will be able to see the new SNS notification. And so here we go. I got the email. It's basically said there's a new state and change record, and then there's a whole bunch of different key value pairs showing me what has changed and where. And I can actually click on this to see the AWS Config Manager in the management console as well. So that is it for this lecture, guys. In the next lecture, we're just going to summarize what we've learned about AWS Config and what my exam tips are, and then we'll be able to move on. So if you've got the time, join me in the next lecture. Thank you.